Let's talk about how you can build a good credit score in Canada as a newcomer. As you know, it's really important to have a good credit score if you want to apply for credit cards, loan products such as car loans, mortgages, and other credit products. And it's important to note that not only is your credit score important, but also your credit history. But the big problem is that as a newcomer, you simply do not have a credit score or a credit history at all. No matter how many credit cards you had in your home country, whether or not you already had a mortgage, how well you have been handling your credit score and history are not transferable to Canada. And in that sense, you are starting from zero. It will definitely need some time and a lot of patience until you can build your credit history and credit score here in Canada. And how long that will take, we'll talk about that in a bit. So this video here is intended for all those of you newcomers here to Canada who are wondering how you can build a good credit score and credit history. But it might also be relevant to those of you who have been already living in Canada for a while and want to find ways to improve your credit score. So in this video today, I'll talk about 5 things that you must do if you want to build a good credit score and credit history. But before we start, a very huge disclaimer up front. I am not a financial advisor. I am not an immigration consultant. All I'm doing here is trying to share with you my personal experience with using credit cards and building my own credit score and credit history. So with that aside, one big question that you might have in advance: who am I to be talking about credit score, and what is my own credit score? I won't be giving you the exact number, the exact credit score, but if I match my credit score to the different tiers of credit scores, then my credit score is categorized as an excellent credit score. And I must say that it was actually not that difficult to get to that point. And that is why I want to share with you some things that I did and that you can do in general so that you too can get a great, excellent credit score. So let's just start off by talking about what constitutes a good credit score. So in general, credit scores go all the way from 300 to 900. And according to the website equifax.ca, credit scores from 660 to 900 are generally considered good, very good, or excellent. And we can find further differentiation that if your credit score is between 660 to 724, it's a good credit score. If it's between 725 to 759, it's considered to be very good. And if your score is 760 and above, it is generally considered to be an excellent credit score. But in general, as the website equifax.ca says, there is no magic number to reach when it comes to getting better loans, loan rates, and terms. So in general, I would say that if you're new here to Canada, the first thing that you should aim towards is to get a credit score above 660. And then from there, gradually work yourself up to a better and better credit score. Another big question that you might have is, but I'm in a hurry. I want to buy a car. I want to buy a house. I want to get a mortgage. So I need to build up my credit score and credit history fast. So how long will that actually take me? And here's what this website birchwoodcredit.com has to say, and I'll also share with you my own experience to show whether or not it corresponds with this. According to this website, at first it takes between 3 to 6 months to build up enough credit history to get a base level credit score. Because in the beginning, you don't have many transactions yet, so there is no data based on which the credit bureau can calculate a score. So it will take a few months, or rather a number of transactions, until there is enough data for the credit bureau to make an assessment about the way you handle credit. And based on my own experience, I would say that this is about right. After I got my first credit card, which was a Capital One credit card, and by the way, it was very easy to get for me as a newcomer at that time. And if you're curious to know more about that, I will put the link up here for you so you can watch that video after you finish watching this video. And I would say that I've used that credit card for a few months, perhaps around 6 months, until I got a credit score. And it was a good credit score, but it was not very good or excellent yet. There were simply not enough data to work with. So from that point on, I would say that it took me approximately 1.5 years to get my credit card to a score that was very good in the 700s. And from there, I kept improving it and kept using my credit in a responsible way until I finally got at this point where I have an excellent credit score. And that is where we will get into the 5 basic things that you must do if you also want to have a good, great, excellent credit score and credit history. By the way, guys, if you found this video useful so far, then it would really mean a lot to me if you would hit the like button, because that would help my video to get out to more people, and I'll also know that you like this type of videos, and I'll keep making more of these. So the first thing that you need to do if you want to build a good credit score and credit history is, of course, get credit, get a credit product. And in this case, at first, it doesn't matter what kind of credit card you get. Just get any kind of credit card so that you can start building your credit history as soon as possible once you arrive here in Canada. And something that not many people know here that's very important, and even I just recently learned about, is that it's not enough to have just one kind of credit product, which is a credit card, for example, which most people have. But you should ideally also have different kinds of credit products. For example, a line of credit, a loan, an installment. Because if you have different kinds of credit products which all work in a slightly different way, you show to the credit bureau that you are able to handle different kinds of credit responsibly. And apart from just credit products, there is also another product that will have an impact on your credit history, which is your cell phone plan. Yes, you heard it right, your cell phone plan. And now you might be wondering, what has my cell phone, my mobile phone plan to do with my credit score and credit history? If you have a cell phone with a postpaid plan, and note here that it has to be postpaid and not prepaid, meaning that you pay your cell phone bill after you use the services of your cell phone provider each month, that means that you are making a form of regular payments. Each and every month you have to pay your cell phone bill on time, you cannot be late, and you have to pay it in full. And that is also a way to show the credit bureau that you are financially responsible. And that is why the moment you arrive in Canada, as fast as you can, get a cell phone plan with a postpaid plan. And the second thing that you need to do to build a good credit score and credit history, and I know this sounds really common sense, but many people just don't do it, is to make your credit card payments or loans on time and ideally in full. Do not make it a habit to pay your credit card late, even though you think it's just a few days late or 1 week late, because that will negatively impact your credit history. And also, don't make it a habit to just pay the minimum amount, because what will likely happen is that every month you will have more expenses, and month by month the amounts will pile up, and before you know it, you have this huge amount of debt that you cannot handle. So just in case all this while you did not have a really great habit when it comes to making payments on your credit card, then here are some of the things that you can do. Set a reminder on your calendar, and do not set the reminder on the day that the bill is due, but set it 3 days in advance or even 5 days in advance. Even better, what I like to do is to pay my credit card bills, all of them, in a particular week of the month. So for example, I know that my credit card bills are usually due in the first week of the next month, so I make it a point to pay everything in the last week of the previous month, so I will not miss the due date. Another tip I have for you is that although you are using a credit card which allows you to use credit, do not use it as a credit card, but use it in a way, in a philosophical way, as a debit card. So in other words, only spend the money that you already have in your savings, in your checkings account. So let's say that you spend $500 on your credit card, and in a strict sense, it still means that you're borrowing money from the credit card company. But in reality, you already have that $500 in your checkings or savings account, but you are just using your credit card as a means of payment to build your credit history or to benefit from any other benefits and perks that you might get from the credit card. The third thing that you must do if you want to build a great, excellent credit score is to keep your credit utilization rate low. Now, what does that mean? And for that, let us use an example that's demonstrated on the canada.ca website. And in fact, they have a page here titled Improving Your Credit Score from the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada, which explains in very much detail what you need to do to improve your credit score. So this is a page that I would strongly recommend you to read through in detail if you're serious about having an excellent credit score. So let's look at this example. Let's just say that you have a credit card with a limit of $5,000. In any case, do never go above that limit, even though some credit card companies will allow you to temporarily surpass that limit. So it says here, and this also aligns with common advice, that you should try and always use less than 35% of your available credit. It's better to have a higher credit limit and use less of it each month. So if you have a $5,000 credit card limit and your average borrowing amount, so the amount that you usually spend with your credit card on a regular basis is $1,000, that means that your credit usage rate is 20%. But if you have a credit card with a $1,000 limit and your average borrowing amount is $500, that means that your credit usage is 50%. That means that there is no absolute amount that you should or should not use, but rather what's important is the percentage. So let's go further down here in this example. So if you have a credit card with a $5,000 limit and also a line of credit with a $10,000 limit, then your combined available credit is $15,000. And if you do not want to exceed 35% of your limit, that means that you should not try and borrow more than $5,250 at a time. But by the way, in case you just arrived here in Canada, chances are that on your first credit card you will have a limit of, let's say, $1,000 to $2,000. And let's say that your credit limit is $1,000. That means that ideally you should not be using more than $350 on that credit card. If you are regularly using more than 35% of your credit limit, if you have a very high credit utilization rate, that sends a signal to the credit bureau that you are a high-risk customer. And that's a signal that you definitely do not want to send. Now let's talk about the fourth thing that you have to do if you want to build a good credit score and credit history here in Canada. And this is a mistake that I almost made because I didn't know of it in the beginning. And that is to keep your credit accounts open as long as possible, even though you might not really need them anymore. And the reason for that is that one of the determinants of your credit card score is the length of time for which your credit account has been open. Now let's move on to the fifth thing that you have to do, or rather pay attention to if you want to have a great credit score. Be very careful with credit checks. A credit check is an inquiry that someone makes into your credit report. And it's important to know that there's something that's called a hard hit and something that's called a soft hit. And you want to avoid having too many of these hard hits because they will negatively affect your credit score. Now, what is a hard hit? When do you get this? A hard hit usually happens when you apply for a credit card, and in some but not all cases when you do a rental application. And a soft hit usually happens when you yourself ask for your own credit report. So in any case, when you apply for credit, if you submit a rental application, make sure that you ask whether this will be a hard hit or a soft hit. Let me give you an example. You might be interested in several credit cards. Let's say there are 5 credit cards out there on the market and they all have a bunch of cool rewards, cashback rewards, and so on. So you think to yourself, why not just apply for all of them at once? Really bad idea. Definitely don't do that. If you apply for multiple credit cards at the same time, what will likely happen is that you'll get a ton of hard hits. And all of these inquiries will appear in your credit report and will likely negatively affect your credit score. So apart from these 5 things that we just talked about, there are actually several more things that you need to pay attention to do if you want to build a really great, excellent credit score and credit history. But at least if you're just doing these 5 things in a disciplined way, then you'll be off to a good, great, excellent credit score and history in no time. By the way, guys, getting your first credit card here in Canada as a newcomer might be something that seems difficult and complicated, but believe me, it's actually not. Most banks in Canada actually offer packages, special offers to newcomers here that make your whole application process much easier. And a lot of these offers also include your first credit card. And I've covered one of these many newcomer accounts available from Scotiabank, and I will link the video to that right over here. Keep in mind that I'm not endorsing this specific product. I'm just sharing this because I myself opened this account at the very beginning. If you have any questions and comments, I'd love to hear them. Please leave them down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you again in the next video.